And now let us welcome Mr. Ryan Gentry, Head of Business Development for Lightning Labs, the Lightning Network, on scaling financial services on Bitcoin.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ryan Gentry. I'm the Director of Business Development at Lightning Labs. I am a proud Texan, a native Austinite, a graduate of this great university with Silver Spur here, and I'm just incredibly excited to see the Bitcoin capital of the world coming to my hometown. To answer Senator Cruz's plea for the Bitcoin community, I can tell you here in Austin we are mobilizing. The Texas Blockchain Council obviously bringing all these people out. We're taking this very seriously, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Lightning Network and how we're scaling financial services on Bitcoin at Lightning Labs. So when I was designing this talk, my original plan was I was going to talk about technically how does the Lightning Network work, right? Bitcoin, the blockchain itself is expensive and slow. It's designed primarily to process things like wire transfers, not everyday payments. So what Lightning Labs has done is we've built an overlay network, which you can kind of see visualized here, on top of the blockchain that allows for fast and cheap payments. Now, the right analogy to use for this is layer 2 transactions. Lightning Network is to Visa what layer 1 transactions, the blockchain itself, is to wire transfers or FedWire. But then I got this invite by my good friend Alex Gladstein, the Chief Strategy Officer of the Human Rights Foundation, to spend the first half of this week at the Oslo Freedom Forum. The Oslo Freedom Forum hosts a bunch of dissidents, human rights activists, and freedom fighters. And so I spent Sunday through Tuesday talking to these incredibly inspiring people. And so thank you, Alex, because that really helped me distill what I want to get across in this conversation. And it's not about payment channels or HTLCs or inbound liquidity or any of the technical aspects of the Lightning Network. It's very simply that Bitcoin is freedom money. This is what it is. This is the whole point. Right? And I think when you talk about what is freedom money and what are financial services that can be done with freedom money, it's very simple, right? It's freedom to spend, it's freedom to save, and it's freedom to earn. And so what I'm going to talk about in this next 10, 15 minutes that I have is I'm going to highlight some examples with how in the real world today, with a little bit of a focus on El Salvador as the first country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender, how people are using the financial services, freedom to spend, freedom to save, and freedom to earn that my company, Lightning Labs, is producing for the world. So again, I was at this incredibly inspiring Freedom Forum Sunday through Tuesday this week, and I talked to dissidents from Bolivia, from Palestine, from Congo, from Myanmar, from all of these countries, incredibly inspiring people. And I asked all of them these same two questions. When I met them, I said, what's your cause? What are you fighting for? And then tell me about what are your interactions with the local banking system like? And I was it's a little bit of a leading question, but I was amazed. Every response was the exact same. Everybody said, oh, it's horrible, right? They freeze our accounts arbitrarily, they steal our money, they badger and harass our donors. It's an absolute nightmare trying to organize some resistance against local governments when you have to deal with banks. And so then, the next obvious question, here's a little bit of a headline showing you. The next obvious question is so you deeply understand that if you give your money to a bank, it's no longer your money, right? It's the bank's money, and you have an IOU. And all of them are like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. It's terrible. And so they don't have the freedom to spend their own money. And we got some work to do in the Bitcoin community to make it to where it's really easy for these people and really user friendly. But we're on the right track because these are the people that we're intending to help. And so another example on this is again, this was kind of the first of many El Salvador examples. Imagine having to spend 3 hours a month traveling just to pay your bills, right? People in the West, we don't really understand because we have pretty good payment systems. We don't really understand how bad they are in the rest of the world. But with just an internet connection and a smartphone, all of a sudden, with the Lightning Network, you get access to a world-class payment system, no matter what your local fiat jurisdiction has to say about it, right? Nobody can stop you from plugging in, which is incredible. So think about, for Milton here, what he can do now with these 3 hours a month that he has now reclaimed just by adopting the Bitcoin standard. Think about what you would have to give up if you had to spend 3 to 4 hours a month just to pay your bills, traveling on a bus, right? We don't really understand in the West just how impactful this is, but I can tell you that the people of this Freedom Forum and the people that I talk to on a daily basis in emerging markets, like they deeply understand these problems. So now moving on to freedom to save. One amazing thing, an amazing person that I talked to this week is Mike Peterson, who is the director of the Bitcoin Beach community, which is the surfing village El Zante in El Salvador that kicked off this whole movement. So he's been down in El Zante for years now. I think he first started there in like 2014 or something. And he's just told these amazing stories where he's like, these are people, the average salary or the average income in this village is like $300 a month. These are not savers, right? These are not people that have predominantly built the habits to save their money. They're hand to mouth, they get their cash. If they have extra money at the end of the week, they buy a Coke with their lunch. But now that they've adopted Bitcoin and they see that their money, their savings, their wages are actually increasing the purchasing power if they hold on to them, their habits are changing. Their time preferences are lowering. They are saving. And I think like this example here, this is a guy who has he's saved his money and he's invested in his business, right? There was another story that he told about a 40-year-old man who had horrible teeth problems his entire life and had never had the cash to do anything about them. 6 months after really rocking Bitcoin and starting to save his money in Bitcoin, he had saved up thousands of dollars and gone to the dentist and got his teeth fixed. It's a 40-year-old man that had thought that he was doomed to having terrible teeth his entire life. And boom, the mental shift from having the freedom to save and having the money that actually retains his purchasing power has changed his habits. And there are tons of stories like this. And I think, obviously, what we deeply care about in the Bitcoin community, and I think what we deeply care about in Texas as well, is look at this. Every central bank on planet Earth is competing to debase their currency at a similar rate. There's no hiding from it. There's no stopping it. It's forcing Zoomers to be gambling on AMC and GameStop to try and make some money, right? Because they can't keep up with central bank inflation. As Texans, we're patient allocators of capital. We're prudent with your savings, and central banks are coercing us into short-term investments that we maybe don't understand. That's ridiculous. That shouldn't be the case. And not until Bitcoin did you actually have a way to save and retain your purchasing power. You didn't have the freedom to save. And so I think, I've been talking a lot about emerging markets, but I can't get over this. The banks in Germany have negative interest rates. They're charging their citizens for the money that their citizens own, that they're saving, so that the central bank can, engage in unprecedented government spending. That's ridiculous. But that is the world that we live in. And so finally, my favorite is the freedom to earn. And so I love this story. So you can see down in the bottom of this image, QR code. So this guy Mario in El Zante, this picture was popped up, and the Bitcoin community found it and said, let's donate to Mario. Let's make his day. So again, average salary, average income in El Zante, $300. He raised $1,000 in 5 days from donators in 20 different countries. And he didn't even ask for it. It was just a random thing. He just has the freedom to earn because he put a QR code on the internet. And as I said earlier, with these savings, he's now a capitalist, right? He invested those earnings in a fryer and a cool box to expand his business. Again, the Western Union was founded in 1851 to productize the telegraph, right? And it's still a rent-seeking business in the remittance industry. El Salvador adopting Bitcoin has put $400 million a year directly into the pockets of El Salvadorians who accept remittances from the US. This is freedom to earn. This is removing middlemen, peer-to-peer commerce. Two of my favorite companies in the Lightning space are specifically focused on the prospect of earning on the Lightning Network. One is Stackwork. So Stack, not to get too complicated, but there are companies in Silicon Valley that are doing machine learning. They need millions and millions of images tagged for stop signs and buses, et cetera, et cetera. You're familiar with the CAPTCHAs. That's like pretty low value work. It's not, can't support a living wage in San Francisco. but it can't support a living wage in Bangladesh. So what Stack has done is they've leveraged the Lightning Network to be able to pay out micro work to these workers, where you don't need an office, you don't even need a computer, you don't need a boss, you don't need to travel. You can do these jobs with a smartphone from your bed, from your boxers. And that can support, again, 19,000 active workers in 46 countries. Senator Cruz was talking about the pipeline that got shut down that cost the US 11,000 jobs. 19,000 jobs all the way across the world, permissionless access. Amazing. This is job creation. Final freedom to earn is Zebedee. So Zebedee infuses Bitcoin payments into the Lightning Network, or into the games using the Lightning Network. And so people all around the world are playing these games to earn. That is, they're using these as kind of a second job. And so look at this guy. Renan was able to pay his bills by playing video games. This is job creation. This is capital accumulation. This is freedom to earn. This is changing people's lives all over the world. And so, if you're familiar with this chart, this is in MBA schools all around the world. Kind of new technologies go through these phases, right? You start with the innovators, you go to the early adopters, you cross the chasm, you make it to the early majority. The first block of the Bitcoin network was mined in January 2009, which is about 12 and a half years ago. So it's had some time to cross the chasm, which I think it really successfully did post-COVID, right? We're deep in the early majority. There's something like 40 million Americans that hold Bitcoin now. But the Lightning Network, the first mainnet transaction was like late 2017, early 2018. So it's only been 3.5 years. And this great report from Arcane Research came out earlier this week showing, this is the public capacity of the Lightning Network, the capital allocated to it that we can see. We're clearly in the early adopter phase now. So if you're listening to this talk right now, you're early. We got a lot of room to run. But the amazing thing is, I think there's a great way to state this technology and like where we're going. Our early adopters are Twitter in the country of El Salvador, right? Like that's amazing. Usually your early adopters are like the kid down the street that is good at computers. So we got a long ways to go. And I think the opportunity here, another way to state just how far we have to go is just incredible. Visa and MasterCard in 2020 did about $16 trillion of volume, right? The Lightning Network this year kind of estimated is like 100 million. So we got a lot of zeros to tack on, as we get into the early adopters and into the next phase and cross the chasm. So finally, I want to end on this. My good friend Christopher Calicott has been memeing this into existence. Texas is Bitcoin country. Bitcoin is freedom money, and Texas is Bitcoin country. Again, as a proud Texan, as a proud Austinite, it's always intuitively made sense to me that the ethos of Texas, of hard work, of liberty, of frugality, of savings, it just lines up exactly with what the Bitcoin network provides. So, making Austin the Bitcoin capital of the world, making Texas Bitcoin country, I think it's happening, it's exciting, it's inevitable. And I hope that you guys join us on this journey because the next 10 years or so are going to be incredibly exciting. Thank you.